Once again, the illusion of peace in the Middle East has shattered, faster than anyone expected. Just days after a fragile calm settled over the region, the geopolitical chessboard is back in motion. And this time, the moves are bolder, the weapons louder, and the consequences far more dangerous. The question now is not whether a new war is beginning, but whether it ever really paused. What we are witnessing is not just a resurgence of conflict between old enemies. It is a full-blown proxy war unfolding in real time, with devastating precision. Just hours ago, ballistic missiles rained down on Beersheba, a strategic city in southern Israel. But this was no ordinary strike. The launch came from Yemen, a nation long devastated by war, but now emerging as a key player in Iran's shadow war against Israel. The missile used was an Iranian-made dual Fikar, a heavy, short-range projectile capable of inflicting massive damage on military infrastructure. And Yemen wasn't subtle about the message. The Houthi faction, cleverly censored online with euphemisms, openly declared the attack as an act of solidarity with the Palestinian people and a direct response to what they called Zionist crimes in Gaza. This strike is not isolated. It's part of a broader, calculated pattern of military escalation across multiple fronts. It comes alongside credible reports that Israeli forces have bombed humanitarian aid distribution centers in Gaza, targeting the very locations where desperate civilians line up for scarce food and water. These are not military objectives. These are siege tactics, creating terror not just with bullets, but with starvation. Al Jazeera reports claim that these strikes aim to instill fear so that civilians avoid aid centers and effectively die from hunger. Some reports, still under investigation, suggest the food itself may be laced with addictive or harmful substances. Whether true or not, the sheer fact that such allegations even circulate says everything about the psychological terrain of this war. And while missiles fly and civilians suffer, Donald Trump once again throws gasoline on the fire. No longer pretending to be a peace broker, Trump recently mocked Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in a tone so inflammatory that even seasoned diplomats were left stunned. Iran didn't stay quiet. Their foreign minister fired back immediately, issuing a warning that if the United States seeks any kind of negotiation, it must first stop the disrespect, or there will be no dialogue, not even a phone call. But this isn't just posturing. This is a red line being drawn, and what comes next could change the geopolitical balance of the entire region. In fact, it already has. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us until the end, because what you're about to hear could change the way you see global power. We'll break it all down so you can understand what's really happening and stay one step ahead. This is Q-Wick News, where we explain everything to sharpen your critical understanding of world affairs. On the military side, the situation becomes even more serious. According to statements made on CNN by General Dan Kane, chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, the United States recently considered bombing Iran's underground nuclear facilities in Isfahan. But they backed off. Why? Because their most powerful bunker-busting bombs, GBU-57S, known as the mother of all bombs, were deemed ineffective. In other words, even America's top-tier stealth bombers couldn't guarantee destruction of Iran's key enrichment infrastructure. The enemy was simply too fortified, too prepared. This public admission is astonishing. It's not just a tactical revelation. It's a signal, a confession that U.S. military might is not what it claims to be when it comes to confronting hardened adversaries like Iran. And it came at the worst possible time, because hours later, the largest ever salvo of Patriot missiles was fired from Israel in response to Iranian attacks on the U.S. Al-Udeid base in Qatar, the biggest American military installation in the region. And still, damage occurred. The Patriots were overwhelmed, partially neutralized, but not fully effective. This is what happens when a country like Iran, long underestimated by the West, applies Russia's saturation strike strategies, overwhelming defenses by sheer volume. It's a tactic used to great effect in Ukraine, and now it's being replicated in the Middle East. And once again, Washington appears caught off guard. So how does Trump respond? Not with diplomacy, not with de-escalation, but with bravado. He claims, publicly, that he saved Khamenei's life, refusing to allow U.S. or Israeli forces to assassinate him, a claim so absurd it borders on delusional, especially given the U.S. military's own admission that it couldn't even destroy a concrete bunker, let alone execute a surgical strike on a heavily protected religious leader. What Trump likely wanted was a headline. What he got was an international backlash, and a new ultimatum from Tehran. Iran's Foreign Minister Said Abbas Araghchi warned both Israel and the U.S. that the great and powerful Iranian people will not tolerate more threats or insults, and that their true capabilities may soon be revealed. This is not empty rhetoric. This is the language of red lines. This is the stage before a much bigger war. And right on cue, Yemen launches a ballistic missile made in Iran. Let's connect the dots. This is not a coincidence. This is coordination. A proxy strike, yes, but one executed with a level of precision and timing that suggests direct strategic alignment between the Houthis and Tehran. Iran, of course, denies any official involvement, just like NATO denies fighting Russia directly through Ukraine. But we've seen this playbook before. The denial is part of the doctrine. What matters is what happens on the battlefield. And make no mistake, Yemen is not acting alone. This is a signal to Israel and the United States that they are surrounded not just by enemies, but by a coordinated network of actors willing to escalate. And Israel is now vulnerable. The Iron Dome, once hailed as an impenetrable shield, has shown cracks. With each wave of missiles and drones, its limits are exposed. And if this continues, Israel could find itself facing a saturation it cannot absorb. Meanwhile, on the ground in Gaza, the situation reaches new lows. Bombing aid centers, starving civilians, creating terror not with warplanes but with empty stomachs. This isn't just war, it's a war crime. And what's more disturbing is the near total silence from major Western powers. The same countries that screamed about humanitarian law in Ukraine now turn a blind eye when those laws are obliterated in Palestine. What does all this mean? It means that the line between diplomacy and war has already been erased. It means that Iran's threats are real, its proxies active, and its enemies unprepared. It means that the United States has overestimated its military reach and underestimated the resolve of its adversaries. And it means that Trump, in his quest for dominance and headlines, may have just sparked the next major escalation, perhaps even the conditions for nuclear confrontation. What happens when the next missile isn't intercepted? What happens when Iran decides to stop pretending and acts directly? What happens if the U.S. retaliates with force against a proxy, and the proxy responds with a strike on an American base? This isn't speculative. This is the path we're on. And ask yourself, how long can the U.S. keep fighting indirect wars without accountability? How long can it sustain the myth of invincibility while losing strategic ground, region by region? Yemen's strike wasn't just a message. It was a demonstration, a proof of concept, a warning shot with real consequences. And if the international community continues to ignore the signs, if the public continues to be distracted by circus politics, then what comes next will not be a surprise. It will be the logical conclusion of everything we're seeing now. The crisis is here. The missiles have landed. The bunkers are no longer safe. And the empire is trembling. So what's really at stake? Sovereignty, survival, and the crumbling illusion of Western control. This isn't just about Yemen or Iran or Israel. This is about the global balance of power. And as it shifts, one missile at a time, the world edges closer to the point of no return. So we ask you, do you really think this is about defending democracy? Or is it about defending hegemony? Do you believe Iran is the aggressor, or the last actor still resisting a global system built on hypocrisy?
You decide. But decide quickly.
Because the next missile may not be so easily ignored. If you found this breakdown valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Give us a like, and share this video with someone who needs to understand what's really going on. We post sharp, unfiltered geopolitical analysis every week. Because in a world this chaotic, clarity is power. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this is the beginning of a wider war, or just another phase of constitutional order? Stay alert, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next report. This is Hewitt News. No noise, just truth.